Here, so I went to the gym. Oh.
Yes, so. And I did.
Guys ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Let's go ahead and call this meeting to order. This is the Garden City Community College October board meeting. Thank you all for attending. So my first message is one of a little bit of sadness. One of the Garden City Community College employees passed away. Kathy Winter. She is a 49-year employee at the library. And if you don't mind, we'll just bow our heads for a moment of prayer for her in silence. Thank you very much. We'll certainly send our prayers of comfort to her family.
She kept me on the straight and narrow a lot of times. She would walk with a crutch. She was fun. She'd say, Beth, what are you trying to do now?
Does anybody else have any other remembrances about Kathy?
39 years. It's very, very
Hard worker.
Yeah.
Hard work.
Yeah. When did you die?
Just early this morning.
What last week?
I know. Yeah.
All right, well, I thank you for tolerating that. A few more announcements. We have the Miss Garden City Fiesta Queen on campus. Congratulations to Heidi Aguilera. She's a sophomore music major for being crowned as the 2022 Miss Garden City Fiesta Queen during the 2022 Fiesta Scholarship Pageant that was held in September. She earned a $1,000 scholarship and will compete in the Miss Kansas, a Miss America state competition next summer. Congrats to her. Also, congratulations to the Garden City Community College meat judging team for for another great win. They were champions of the 2022 Beef Empire Days contest that was hosted by the college in Tyson at the end of September. The team also scored the 8th highest score in Garden City Community College meets judging history. The rodeo team finished in the top 5 at Southeastern Rodeo. Congrats to the Brockbuster Rodeo team for placing in the top 5. Few dates for y'all to remember: November 7th and 8th. What's going on?
That was tongue in cheek.
Yeah. November 7th and 8th is the HLC accreditation review. November 8th is election day, so don't forget to vote or vote ahead of time. All right,
Only once.
right.
That's
Do we have a report from SGA?
Hello, I'm Seferino Ramirez Jr. I'm the president of SGA. And the stuff that we're working on right now for October 21st, which is this Friday, is the Halloween Fest.
Could you talk a little louder? Some of us in this room are really.
I'll try, I'll project.
Thank you.
October 21st is the Halloween Fest, that's this Friday. And that's open to the community and the college. It's gonna be located in the new transit truck building. And there's gonna be a lot of stuff like pumpkin painting, base painting, trunk or treat, and decorating stuff. So it's gonna be a lot of fun. October 26th is the Red Flag campaign, which helps bring awareness to dating violence on college campuses. Family Crisis will be in attendance with informational material, and students will get the ability to pledge to say something when they see something. And then in November, we're gonna start November 1st to the 15th, we're gonna have a food drive, which will help benefit students and the community. Organizations who donate the most items will receive funds towards next year's allocations. And then November 10th, we were supposed to have a bonfire a couple of weeks ago, and it got too windy. So we picked a day, and the day that we picked to redo it is November 10th, because that's gonna be our last home day, I believe.
Home game,
Home
yeah.
game, not home
Mhm.
day.
The Thursday before the last home game, yeah.
Yes,
So we'll have our bonfire that night, and so
I think that's all.
that's our
For the food drive, what do you suggest for donations?
canned
Canned food,
goods,
canned goods.
non-perishables.
Okay, and did you say it's for students or is it for the community?
So it'll be for both.
Both.
Yeah, so we're doing it for the students that can't leave as well, that are needing some food for during the break and things like that. So there'll be some students that need that we'll give those out to, and then the rest will go to the community.
Okay. And you're talking about Thanksgiving break? Is
Yes,
that-
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, great homecoming week.
Yes.
Good activities.
A lot of fun. I got a lot of good feedback on that from a lot of the clubs and a lot of students I've been into. I was running, I don't know if y'all saw me. I made my outfit that day. So. I think that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
All right, introduction of new employees.
Okay, I have one from the Student Support Services Program. Daisy, why don't you come on up? Daisy Saavedra is our new data coordinator for the Student Support Services TRIO program. Daisy graduated from Fort Hays State University in 2021 with her bachelor's degree in tourism and hospitality management. For the last 4 years, she has worked for Marriott Town Place Suites as the front desk supervisor. And prior to that, She was the accounting associate for Sam's Club. As a hospitality professional, Daisy is passionate about making a positive impression on others and fostering meaningful relationships. Daisy's official start date was on October 3rd. Please welcome Daisy Savetti. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Guest? No.
Had to bring my baby.
Always welcome. I have the pleasure of introducing Kimberly Vanley. She's our new Penka Building Secretary, so supporting programs, nursing, allied health, cosmetology. Originally from Liberal, Kansas, she graduated from Liberal High School. She's previously worked as a medical assistant for chiropractic and acupuncture, as well as a teacher's aide. Over 5 years of experience in customer service, clerical secretarial duties to her new role here at the college. Very welcome, and her start date was August 9th of 2022. So welcome, we're very happy you're here.
Thank you.
No,
like,
she's like,
no.
I'm busy.
Can you introduce the little one?
This is Lily. She is 9 months old.
Hi, Lily.
You're welcome anytime.
She's a mess. She has FOMO. So anytime anyone needs baby snuggles, please. She loves them.
Welcome, Kimberly.
Thank you.
Sarah?
I surprised him tonight.
I have the pleasure of welcoming Sarah McNeil, who is our new assistant professor for anatomy and physiology. She is originally from Liberal, Kansas, has an associate of science from Seward.
I'm sorry.
That's we support the community college system publicly. We also have a bachelor's. You also have a bachelor's of education in exercise science and a master's of education, and comes to us from WSU Tech with 4 years of part-time teaching experience and 5 as a full-time faculty member. And we were lucky to snag her, and her start date was September 7th. So welcome.
Yes,
I'm very happy that you're here.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Great thing you guys, they're shooting a commercial today.
They did. I was a movie star today. See you guys. Thank you.
We are not having an executive session today, yay. So we're moving on to the consent agenda. And I would like to pull item D for some discussion. D is in David.
Madam Chair, I move that we accept the consent agenda items A, B, B1, B2, C, C1, C2, C3, C4, C5, and item C for approval.
All right, so we have a motion by Beth and a second by David Rupp. Is there any other discussion about the consent agenda? All right, all those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? All right, so those items are passed as presented. Let's talk about item D. And I'll let Dr. Ruda introduce that for us.
Yes, item D. So this particular item, really up until this semester, there was not a formal policy in place here for how the college handles naming rights of buildings, classrooms, events, activities, etc. So over the course of this past semester, we've been working through college council and have adopted and approved a formal naming rights policy. So coinciding with that, the recommendation tonight comes forward for Dr. Ace Harder. Dr. Ace Harder served as the Dean of Instruction for 21 years from 1972 through 71 through 92. He had a background in math, so in retirement, he came back and taught as an adjunct faculty member from 02 to 06 for Garden City Community College as well. 2 weekends ago, we had the privilege, I said we, Jody and Scott and I had the privilege to meet. His family was in town celebrating his 97th birthday. And so he came out to campus and just wanted to see campus, his family, his kids, grandkids, great grandkids came out. Had a great conversation. He talked a lot about just the college itself, really in the formative stages. You know, when he came out here, it was in a lot of the development phase where the buildings that exist on this current campus were just starting to be built and opened. So he was really on the ground floor there when construction came about. The other side that I would mention is that he was also involved in the very first group of state committee work that was done for transfer from the 2-year to the 4-year. So he was on the initial transfer articulation council at the state level, which still exists today. But he was on the initial council that formed a lot of how courses transfer. He really set in a lot of initial policy in place. But you know, this particular request, bringing forward here, we've gone through college council and discussed this. College council approved and recommended to the board, which is what we're bringing forward today, to name the academic lecture hall in honor of Dr. Ace Harder. I think a lot of, you know, really where some of this comes from, and I hope to be able to see more of this, is really just being able to put some focus on things from the past, individuals who had distinguished service or helped to shape the college, and be able to provide a way of honor and a lot of what it is that happened previously that shaped where the college is at today forward there as well. So it is my recommendation and for college council before you to name the academic lecture hall and name it Dr. Harder. I think we do have his daughter on there yet. No, the participants have joined that. Okay. She was going to join there, but really, you know, again, I think from the standpoint when they came out here last weekend or 2 weekends ago, there's nothing that has been said to Dr. Harder about this particular naming opportunity. When we met with him, it was more about trying to connect through the Alumni Association, trying to connect with individuals that have made a significant impact, and where we kind of took it there with being able to get some background history so that we can do a alumni highlight or a distinguished service highlight through social media or part. So none of this conversation that's before you has been shared with Dr. Harder. Happy to stand for any questions. That's a little bit of the background of who Dr. Harder is and the request for.
I think it's a very reasonable request. Anybody that knows Ace Harder is unbelievable. The Energizer Bunny. I would strongly agree with the nomination. Very well deserved. Now, will there be a platform on both sides?
So if the board takes action to approve the 9th, and there will be a plaque with his picture that has a bio, a little bit of background on years of service to the college.
On both sides.
Mm-hmm.
Any other comments or questions? Then I would go ahead and make a motion to approve item D as presented.
I would second.
A motion and a second to approve item D, the naming rights of the academic lecture hall. Any more discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you very much. Agenda item number 4, confirmation of monitoring reports. We are starting on page 38. The first report is one of our ends, work preparedness. Students will be prepared for success in the workplace. And we have the 3 qualifiers that we are looking for in our report. I'll let you review the interpretation and please speak up with any comments or questions. The way this particular end is defined and interpreted, it crosses over from students being successful in college credit programs as well as being successful to enter the workforce. And so you'll see kind of a didactic of information, which I really like.
I particularly like the course called Career Success that has been implemented. I think that gives our students another perspective.
I also believe that our cadaver lab goes a long way in helping everything from nursing, just normal people sometimes don't even have an understanding of what the human body looks like without skin. So it is, you do have to get over that formaldehyde a little bit, but kind of get used to it. So I mean, but I don't know how many other junior colleges have labs. When I was teaching, it was rare. So it is a big positive.
Only 2 others in the state.
I think your point is that it's an extra something that Garden City Community College offers to make students successful
Yes.
with anatomy and physiology.
I know the instructors just go out of their way to make sure the students have what they need to be successful. And I was guaranteed that the good majority of the graduates are working in our community.
And I think, we all saw the career or the cadaver tables. When we first got those, and one was purchased to go out to the area high schools, wasn't it?
Two of them.
Two were. That's a long haul from when somebody, Terry Lee and somebody else had to go to the med center and pick up the
That was me.
person and then have to take them back at the end of this year.
You have to have paperwork as well.
Oh, yeah,
You have cadavers in the back.
yeah.
Explain this.
Yeah, just in case you get pulled off.
So did you ever?
No. No.
That would be a story.
Yeah. No one talked.
Okay, so I do have a couple questions on the data that's presented on page 42 and 43. And I don't know, Dr. Ruda, if you want to explain, or Dr. Malone. I'll let you guys just give a little overview of it.
So the data that's presented on starting on page 42, item number 3, really comes from Perkins follow-up reporting. So it's geared toward more technical education programs. The first item there looks at what happens to CTE concentrators, career tech ed concentrators, after they leave the institution, where either they're still employed, or still at the institution, they're employed, or they're in some sort of advanced training or military. And so you can see that that data is very, very high for CTE concentrators. On the far right, 97% of CTE concentrators are either still here, employed, or in advanced training somewhere. The second item is students who have CTE concentrators who have earned a post-secondary credential. This data set really shows that there's stability in that. So if you look at, this is the first year we prepared this report with trend data in it, so you can see multiple years compared. So the 2021 year, the percentage who have received a college credential has actually dropped a tiny bit. If you look far over at the left, that number 121 is relatively stable compared to all other years. What's happened is the total numbers of CTE concentrators has increased. So there's some stability in some of those numbers there, and 75 is still a strong number. And then looking at page 43, non-traditional program completion. And what this really looks at is making sure that I'm not lying to you. So for example, non-traditional gender, so women working in automotive, for example, any of those types of things. And again, this depends quite a bit in terms of what students show up and who is being recruited. In the past, there was a grant specific to marketing toward, for example, women in automotive, men in nursing, those sorts of things, and we participated in that. You see that we had in this 2021 year, we had 12 concentrators, CTE concentrators. Is that an overview enough? Okay, good.
That last bit of data is not alarming, it's just, it is what it is, kind of statement, right?
Yeah, very much cyclical.
That last part, does that include all of the Perkins programs?
Every program that's eligible for Perkins funding.
And I can tell you that criminal justice will always have a low rate because they get out of here at 20 and they get be hired until 21. So that brings down everybody's rate. That's combined, so good to know.
All right, any other comments about that particular report? Okay. Everybody's accepting of that particular report, yes? Okay, yes, great. Let's move on to the next one that we're looking at, and that is page 44, general executive constraints.
Number Jen.
Thank you. Here's all my notes. Thank you. This is about the safety of the college. The president shall not fail to ensure a safe and healthy environment on campus. And there's some information from various departments on campus. I'll let you review that. And please feel free to make some comments. I had one comment, and that was on page 47, on the last paragraph in Chief Dozier's report. He recommended that employees in all buildings take at least 1 hour during in-service week to discuss safety issues on campus. Dr. Ruda approved this suggestion and encourages leaders across campus to initiate the measure. I was interested in considering it to be mandatory. I wanted to hear your thoughts about that.
Yeah, I think as chief had approached myself as well as cabinet on this, I think a lot of it is just trying to figure out how it is that we increase awareness, but also setting aside that time, because there are very specific discussions that happen by some buildings have multiple exits. Some they only have one, some have stairwells, others don't. So I think a lot of our conversations just trying to look at how it is that we facilitate discussions, to your point there, as far as mandate versus recommend. I think a lot of it comes down to the language and intent. We can definitely mandate it there, but I would say that most of the buildings utilize this as a mechanism just to be able to set aside time to talk. I know several have provided Chief Dozier in just to ask questions that are specific to what we do in this scenario, or how do we handle these questions that came up over the course of the year. So, I think it's an initial step towards raising awareness. I try to stay away from mandating
Right.
as much as possible there. I think if we say it's strongly recommended, strongly encouraged, sometimes a little bit more buy-in. But from the reports that Rodney just came back with, there is definitely something that has been used both in the fall and spring there at service time.
Kind of like no tobacco on campus, but you don't do it.
Correct.
I can remember when they started taking out the bushes along the buildings, just to, again, keep it more, yes, so harder for anybody that wanted to do something mischievous, wouldn't be able to hide behind that.
I just like the idea of buildings and the Alice train participants getting together and talking on an interval basis and talking about what they might expect and doing it repeatedly, being prepared for, God forbid, something that would happen with our campus.
Yeah, and I think to that end, I mean, she came in this semester, so really kind of the next step in a lot of this is doing some tabletop exercises, doing scenarios. So that's a lot of what he's planning to go this year is, let's start walking through scenarios. Let's learn what some of the pitfalls might be, and starting to get some of that repetition of how this will respond down. So I know that's the next step that he's presented to cabinet there that he's wanting to start bringing forward here to campus.
Sounds perfect. And then there was a comment about the rave testing of the cell phones.
Mhm.
How did that turn out? It's just a campus-wide emergency contact of all students, and
Yes.
whoever's on campus, right? Yeah.
Yeah, we make sure that obviously get all the net numbers and emails programmed in as far as our system goes, and that we run that test every semester just to make sure we have 100% going through as far as the text, the phone calls and emails, and that it passes 100%. So that's something that we try to make sure that we're always on top of that, just to make sure it goes through.
Everybody wants to make sure it's working there before one hits.
Right, because there's some other.
I wanted to thank you for the highlights on athletics. I know we debated whether or not to make that part of the policy, and there are always unique considerations related to athletics, so I appreciate having those highlighted there.
I appreciate all the resources that the safety and health of the campus covers broad enough to cover everything. These are very well documented for our benefit, so that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Well, I will tell you, I mean, it's preliminary conversations we're having. We've had conversations with cabinet, and then I also had conversations with student government here this past week on a new service that we are looking at being able to have in place for next fall. And what the service is it's a virtual healthcare system, both for physical health as well as mental health. And so a lot of it there, if you think about, there's a lot of health services that are going to doing more of the Zoom calls where you can call in, be able to have a physician on the phone there, you can talk to your symptoms and what it is you're having. Part of what we've really encountered and seen here at the college, and this is why we're really starting to research and look into this. I was having a conversation with students is you have a lot of students that come here that may not have health care. You have a lot of students who come here that don't have a designated health provider. If they're needing to get prescription medication, they don't have an access point or a way to be able to do that. So what this particular service does, and there will be more information to come if we decide to make this recommendation to the board. What this service does is it has designated health providers in all 50 states. So if a student is traveling to Iowa for an athletic event or beach judging, or if they're back home during Thanksgiving break and they have an ailment that comes sick, they can utilize this service, and it's 24/7, 365, where they can pull up and have a healthcare provider that's available to see them. It does more of like a Zoom call where they can do some of that diagnosis by Zoom. So the other piece is mental health. So it's 24/7, 365 on mental health. Now if they have anything that they feel like they need to be able to talk to a mental health provider about on top of what we already provide through the college and Genesis, this is an additional resource, an additional safety and health resource that we're looking to make available starting next fall as well. Student government was extremely receptive. They thought this was something that would be very beneficial and helpful for them to have. And even if they're back at home during Thanksgiving, Christmas breaks, what have you, they have access to healthcare as part of our institution. Some additional things that we're looking at.
That sounds very innovative. Sounds like a couple other comments that I had in regards to safety on campus was that I appreciate the report from nursing and how much they participate in taking care of our students. I also liked the comments and updates on lighting on campus and the ongoing inspection that our department takes to make sure that the lighting continues to be functioning. And then lastly, the escort system that Chief Dozer has put in place for students. And I appreciated the emphasis on Title IX education for orientation and ongoing education for students. So I think, gosh, it just goes to show how much is involved in taking care of health and safety. So, any other thoughts? All right, so I would say that we accept these reports as presented, yes?
Yes.
Yes, great, thank you. All right, moving on, we are reviewing a couple monitors. The first one is workforce development. That is on page 9 of our policy governance. It's also in our packet here. It is on page 55. Thanks. You got it. So this is another end that we're reviewing. Remember that we do this once a year. Workforce development will be responsive to community economic development and employer needs. So when I think about if that language needs to be tweaked, to me, the question is, how do you define the scope of success in regards to workforce development? And does our end qualify for that? And I think it does. I don't have any
Yeah, I think it's a moving target really with time, so if we try to narrow it down anymore, we wouldn't be able to be as responsive to changes in communities, so.
Does anybody else have any comments about this language? All right. Then the second one that we're reviewing is for job description. And it is number 7 and 8. Starting on page 53 in our book. These were just added. Jody's notes. Yeah, April 2022. Thank you. Appreciate that. So we really haven't had some of a test of any of this information, but remember that we really want to make it specific because it's kind of elusive in regards to how you define it and how you make it work. No, we're doing number 7 and 8. Right?
I thought it's 6, says page 21.
We did 6 last month.
We did, you guys are right, okay. I apologize.
So we're doing 7 and 8 and the agenda.
No, we are doing number 6. Well,
We
that's
did
fine.
7 and 8.
Oh, okay. Writing it down backwards.
No, I apologize. All right, number 6, the board shall monitor the outcomes and professional conduct of organizations associated with Garden City Community College, i.e. the Endowment Association and Rochester Athletic Association. We heard reports last month about that. And I'm just reminding you, the intent of that was looking at the professionalism and financial stability. Are you okay with the monitor, does it need to be tweaked or changed?
I don't believe so. This is where it's just the arm of the college, they're not really involved in those two.
Right, but if there's any specific information you guys want, I think David as well as myself would be glad to collect any information that,
And take it back.
yeah, and bring it back to her.
And then that particular monitor is recorded biannually, so twice a year. So I'm good with that, if you guys are. All right. We are on item number 5. There are no comments from the public, correct? No. Okay. So President's report, you're up.
Several things I wanted to highlight over the course of this last month. We've had several chances to be able to engage with community partners, but two that I wanted to highlight, both in regards to the tax credit initiative that we have. So Green First Bank, which was formerly First National Bank of Syracuse, was on campus and had a chance to be able to take a tour of campus. And then as part of being on campus, did give a $25,000 donation to Garden City Community College towards the tax credits, which will be utilized to go towards the STEM Success Center. Additionally, KCB Bank, which was originally Curry County Bank, was on campus as well, took a tour of campus, and as part of their time on campus, provided an $85,000 tax credit gift to the college there as well. Kind of a fun fact there about KCB Bank, when they were on campus, is when they came with their team, they brought an alumni with them there, the Bob knows very well. Baron Lasovich, who was on the 2001
The Bosnian tornado.
Bosnian tornado. Tremendous individual there. He's, he has a phenomenal story I won't go into, but he was here. He's part of merchant services for KCB Bank. He was based out of Salina. And so he was here, and it was great to be able to talk with him and talk a little bit of shop there about the past Bronbuster games there as well. Good opportunity there. Also this past month, the music department held the 3rd annual Kansas Music Educators Association Learning Day. So this was a day that was dedicated to bringing high school groups onto campus. There were over 500 choir, band, and orchestra students that were on campus from over 24 high schools, and they were coming, and there were several educators that came in from 2-year, 4-year institutions as well to help prepare these students for regional and state contests going forward. So it was a great opportunity. Kudos to our music faculty for a lot of their work and coordination on bringing over 500 students on campus. Also wanted to highlight the Garden City Career Connection Academy. They were recognized this past month by the Kansas Board of Regents. One of only 2 adult education programs that were recognized by K-Board during the annual Workforce Innovation Conference. They were recognized for their strong collaboration and partnership with Tyson Foods. And there are over 20 adult ed programs in Kansas. Garden City Community College Career Academy was recognized specifically for their outstanding commitment to education and employment, and the work and connections that they made in order to be able to get individuals in the workforce going into ESL, workforce training, and a lot of those important skill sets that help them be even more successful in the workforce there as well. So congratulations to Kerry Conley and his staff on that recognition. This past semester, we had a goal of 2% increase in credit hours. It was set institutionally. As of this morning, we are up 2.5%. So very, very proud of the work there by my faculty, staff, coaches across the board, just to be able to take all hands, everybody rowing in the same direction to meet that goal. So thanks to everybody on that. I also wanted to highlight just this past week, our financial aid department had received our most current cohort default rate. So if you remember, the cohort default rate is the number that comes in for the number of students who borrow loans, how many of them are in good standing, making payments on the loans once they leave our city college. There are thresholds you have to meet. If you are 15% or higher, then you go on to a warning status. There's certain activities and things that you have to do to help address it lower. But this past week, Garden City Community College's cohort default rate came in at 2.4%.
Oh my gosh.
Phenomenal.
Wow.
I remember when I was a new student, that was the thing I thought was gonna shut us
I
down.
know.
I mean,
It's
we
a learning
literally go
moment,
out
sure.
and get kids to get that payment in.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, that is wonderful.
Unbelievable, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, last year we were just a shade under 7.1%. So tremendous find. Kudos to financial aid and all the work that's done to keep that rate there.
Is there any one thing that you could point at that helped more than anything to get that rate?
Colin?
Constant contact. Constant contact.
Okay, why don't make sure you pass through along?
Right. What it is. Phone checks, you can tell.
And there's loan, kind of along that line there too, and there's loan entrance counseling that goes on, so before you ever borrow, they go through and learn about what it means to borrow and how you need to pay that, and then there's loan exit counseling there as well. But yeah, it's constant.
Before, during, and at the end.
You stress to them that what they sign says, I promise.
We stress it. Yeah.
Last 2 points there, and then we'll be done, but November 5th, and I'll send some more information out to each of you there on this there as well, but November 5th, the college will be working with the city of Garden City, hosting the Hero and Me fundraiser. This is a fundraiser for Dan Day, for his family, and for funds on that end. Dan Day, if you remember, was a Netflix show that came, highlighted what he had done called The Informant, where he had gone undercover with the FBI and helped to really prevent something that could have been very tragic here in Garden City up on Mary Street at the apartments. So there's going to be some coordinated work there to where there'll be some presenters coming in. There'll be a dinner. It's a fundraiser again for the family, raising some funds through the community foundation to help the family, but also setting up some scholarships and other foundation work going forward there too. So I'll send more information out on that to you. And then the last piece, and there will be more coming on this there as we go forward, but just to make you aware of a new initiative that we'll be unveiling and taking forward here in November is a endowed scholarship initiative. So the endowed scholarship initiative is one that we are putting forth here institutionally, working in lockstep with Endowment Association here as well. But really what the premise of this is to be able to increase and grow the number of endowed scholarships we have. Part of the reason and the emphasis for this there is over this past semester, in the fall, we had over 250 students who had applied for scholarships, but were not able to be awarded because we exhausted our funds through the Endowment Association. So This is an institutional initiative and one that I'll be taking a lot of work with them to be able to grow the number of endowed scholarships we have. Currently, our endowed rate with endowment associations, 5,000. These particular initiatives, this particular initiative, will be setting a $10,000 endowed scholarship rate. So really trying to increase and grow not only the number of scholarships, but the amount that can be awarded, working with a lot of businesses, individuals, even outside of Garden City and our service area for this as well. So there will be much more to come on that particular initiative. So,
Any questions for Dr. Ruda? Great. We have item H, auto program review.
I brought my computer so I don't have to stand in front. I got a bad habit with my students. It drives them crazy of, I really want to show them what's on the screen, so I'll stand in front of the projector and like I said, it drives them totally crazy. So, there we go. Okay. Thanks for having me here. It's good to see all you guys. If you don't know me, if I haven't met you before, my name is Brett Hare. I'm our sophomore auto instructor here. I also do dual credit with the high school. So I got the seniors and junior seniors in high school and then the sophomores here. So I get to see both ends, which is pretty cool. This year, I actually had my first graduate. Well, I will have my first graduate in May, who I started with in high school. So that's been a rewarding experience for me. But anyways, without further ado, I'll just get into this. If you guys want to hit the next slide here. So I found a couple of really interesting and really helpful points within the program review. I was glad to be able to have the opportunity to get to do that actually. One of the things that I'm really proud of that I went through and noticed is just our booming enrollment numbers over the years. Most of you are probably more familiar with our auto program's history than I even am, most likely. And so when we revived in 2016, we just kind of come back from a little bit of a collapse. And our first group of students in 16 is not included here. We had 3 full-time students and 2 part-time for a total of just 5 students. That's all we had. And so, you can see here, 2017, it's a little small there, but we had a total of 9 students, all male students. 2018, we moved up to 12, 1 female, 11 male students. And so on moving up into 2019, a total of 47 students, 36 students for 2020, and then 45 for 2021. And in 2022, it's not included, but we're upwards of 50. We've unfortunately had to let a couple go because we're always really focused on quality over the quantity. So we've had to let a few go, but we've just really had some booming enrollment numbers. And that was, to me, a standout of the program review. They told me I had 5 minutes to share with you the things that I cared about the most. And this was one of them. So I'm glad to be able to show you that. I do have, if you can see, I've highlighted the green and the yellow numbers down there. Oh, sorry, one more back. Green and the yellow numbers, those are our 2 largest enrollment totals. And so the green is going to be Hispanic students and the yellow will be white non-Hispanic. And that's going to be important for the next slide, which we can go to. Okay, this was another piece that I found pretty interesting. Typically, man, I wish I made that a little bit bigger. That's kind of hard to see. Typically, you can see our average GPA in our major and program is lower than the GCCC average. And what I've done here is if the students were the minority group, then I highlighted them in yellow. And if they're the majority, I put them in green. And so 2017 is kind of the anomaly year. We did have more white students than Hispanic, but that was the only year in our program history that that's happened. And so the rest is going to kind of be the same. I'll let you kind of read the comparisons, but the year that I want to focus on, you can see 17 and 18 were quite a bit behind the campus average. And starting in 19 with the implementation of our high school program, the goal was to kind of catch those students a little bit earlier and make them more, college ready. And so, we figured if we had them for a year in advance and we hold them to the same standard as our college students, then they might, come around a little bit faster, so to speak. And so we can kind of start to see that if you look at 2019, let me zoom in here, it's hard for me to see. We have 2.442 for our Hispanic students, and I'm just going to focus on the majority group, which will be the green there, with the campus average being 2.746. In just 1 year, we went from an average of 2.4 up to 2.6. While the campus average dropped, we actually improved, and so we were pretty happy about that. You can see that even further in 2021, we moved up to 2.747, actually beating the campus average for the first time in our program history. And so that's pretty cool to me. I still remember my very first day at the high school. Some of the administration and people came and talked to me, and they said, hey, these kids are pretty rough. You know, they can be tough to deal with. You know, they're going to stress you out. They're going to probably try to intimidate you, and they're bad kids. They like use the word, they're bad kids. Don't be afraid, you know, use the stick on them. And that was just crazy to me that's, you know, the experience that some of them have had in their high school careers. I've talked to Dr. Malone about that before. And so this is something that really resonates deep within me, getting to see that progress. And, you know, this includes all of our students. Post-secondary is included in all of those numbers there. But I personally believe that is a result of the extra time that we've been spending with those guys and getting them here. So we'll actually have something pretty cool. We had 10 transfer students from last year who are in our class right now. We can only take 14. So we capped it at 10 so we could still allow some, you know, walk-on students. And all of them are expected to stay. And so we'll actually get to have that group from high school all the way until graduation. And so this will be the first year we can really look at that GPA data and see if our hard work's paying off. But just based on this alone, I've got a pretty good feeling about it. This was something that was pretty cool for me to show. And, you know, we always like to try and beat the, oh, how do I put that? Like the stigma around automotive. You know, those are guys, they're not smart enough to do book work. They just want to work with their hands and things like that. And that's certainly true for some of them, but it's, you know, it's not a rule. And so we like to try and have them improve every aspect of their lives, not just the hands-on part. Any questions on that slide before I move forward? I've got a section at the end for all questions. All right, next one here. So we got two goods. I did want to include some of the biggest obstacles that we have in automotive for anyone who may be curious about that. Two of them are really self-explanatory, and you might have guessed those on your own. That's going to be resources, vehicles, equipment, tools. You know, they change every single year. It's just like your smartphones. You know, you could buy it 1 year and then, you know, 1 or 2 years later, it's totally obsolete. And so we struggle with the resources to buy the leading edge stuff all the time. We definitely, I feel like we do really well utilizing Perkins funds and all of our grant opportunities to, you know, try and fix that problem. But I think if any of you read closely on B12, I said that I could, if I was given $500,000 in grant funds, I could spend it by tomorrow afternoon. I stand by that. I really could do that. And so that's something that we're always trying to be creative with and find ways to work around our resource issue. And I'll probably leave it at that. If anybody has any questions about that, just ask. The next one there, atypical program duties. I have B12 highlighted because I really let that line have it with atypical program duties. Not from a complaining standpoint, but there's just a lot that I had to say. And so I would encourage all of you, if you have a chance to read that one section there, that's something that I feel pretty strongly about is that one. And not just me, but kind of JCVT as a whole. But the biggest thing is, you know, I'm teaching, but I'm also in a sense kind of having to run a business. I just had a conversation with Debbie yesterday that our department by far has the most tickets from all of our vendors and stuff like that by far than the entire campus. You know, because we're having to buy parts all the time for our vehicles. And so there's stuff like that we have to keep up with that I would say is atypical to the average instructor here on campus. And honestly, even JCVT, there's not a whole lot of programs that have to do that. And so, like I said, I'm trying to stay within my time frame here so we can all get home tonight. But if you have a moment, I would encourage you guys to read that. I think it's a pretty good section in the program review. Lastly, there is shop space. You know, space is always a premium. And so I could sit here all night long and tell you about my delusions that I'd have if we had bigger shop space. But it's reality. You know, we're limited to 14 students in our freshman shop. And we're limited to 14 students per group in our high school morning classes. So a total of 28, we have 2 sections. And then my sophomore shop, I just take whatever freshmen carry over. And so, you know, maximum of 14, but we usually don't have 14 total. If we had a larger shop space, we could definitely take more students on. Of course, that would require more educators, more faculty, more lab assistants and things like that. And the reason behind that being that, you know, we don't want to sacrifice quality for quantity. And so if we had a plan in place for that, that would be my goal moving forward. Is if we had a new shop space would be to try and increase our faculty. in order to meet that need, meet that growing demand. So like I said, those are some of the biggest obstacles. There's some small stuff. B12 really nails it on that atypical program duties. But other than that, it's pretty much smooth sailing over in Auto. Next slide, please. Okay, I wanted to end on a good positive note here. Title this slide, Points of Pride. Some of my favorite people I've ever taught are in that top right picture there. That's our high school group from last year. Really good group of guys. Every single one of them that's standing there was in class this afternoon in Ryan's freshman group. And so getting to know them has been a point of pride for me. Like I said, I had that conversation with some of the high school educators. And I don't want to say they've given up on these kids, but they kind of just don't know how to deal with them because some of them are tricky. But I wasn't a very successful student myself when I was in school. I really struggled with the grind of having to do all the traditional math and English and stuff like that. And so I can really relate to them. And I'm just grateful to have the opportunity to have that high school program. I think it's the biggest thing that we're doing for the community right now. And personally, it's one of the biggest things I have going for me in my life right now. So I'm always excited to talk about that. That bottom group down there is our group of sophomores who just graduated last May. Really good group of guys. I think he's the one. Yeah, he's like dead center. So the guy that's kneeling up above and to the left, that's Alex Carrillo. Some of you guys might have seen him around. He was here for several years. He graduated with 2 degrees. He's actually gone to Pittsburgh State University and is continuing to do us proud there. And so we really encourage that and tried to set him up successfully the best we could there. And we maintain contact with him, and he's a really good source for us up there, giving us a good reputation. So lots and lots of good things. Like I said, I don't want to take up a ton of time. I could talk a lot up here. This is one of my favorite things to talk about. But that's kind of us in a couple minutes. So anybody have any questions at all about the program review as a whole? I know that thing inside and out. I had to knock that thing out pretty fast. Yes.
It's a great program review. I read through it. My brother ended at Pittsburgh State in automotive tech. There is one problem on the beginning of your report.
Mhm.
It's associate in applied science, not of.
Oh, what I had it of? Yeah.
I promise you one day we're gonna get it right.
Mark, he just admitted fault to that. That was not my
I
fault.
used to have to do the doggone degree checks.
Tattoo.
Yes.
Brett, tell me about your dreams, your futures for this program and how you see yourself getting those accomplished.
I was really hoping somebody would ask that because I want to talk about that. If we had a bigger space, we could do a whole lot right now. Two of the big things that I feel like we have going right now is we're working on becoming NATEF / ASC certified. They kind of work hand in hand together. How that works is large automakers like Ford, GM, all of those, they can donate equipment, new vehicles to NATEF certified programs such as PSU. And institutions like PSU can transfer that equipment when they're done with it to smaller institutions such as ourselves, but we have to be NATEF ASC accredited. And so by doing that, we went up there and talked to Dr. Thompson at Pittsburgh. I'm not sure if any of you know him, but he said once their vehicles turn like 5 or 6 years old, that's when they start phasing them out because they don't consider them new anymore. And stuff like that would be a huge benefit to us. So that's why I'm wanting to pursue that. They have equipment that they could give us too, but mainly vehicles. Like vehicles are horribly expensive. We can't afford to just go buy 10 of those, every couple of years. So that's kind of my crusade right now, is to make that happen with my time here. I don't foresee leaving here anytime soon, but if I did, I would want to make sure that was in place for the students after I, left. So that's the mark I'm trying to make. The other one, which I'll be presenting, if anybody does make it up to our advisory council meeting, which is tomorrow. It's actually in here at 12 o'clock tomorrow, but if you make it out here, I'll be unveiling some new plans for a proposed plan, I guess we have with Chuck. I think he might have shared it with Dr. Root, I'm not sure. We want to use it's called a chassis dynamometer, and it would really bolster and increase our productivity in like our engine performance classes. Essentially what it does is allow us to run a vehicle in place, so we could run it up full speed safely in place and allow us to do like stationary diagnostic testing. So it'd be just like driving the car down the road, but I can have all 10 of my guys standing around it the same time and being able to see that instead of having to take one of them at a time out in the vehicle. The other things that would open up doors for would be learning how to use a dyno. It's an extremely complicated piece of equipment. And so we have ideas of creating classes for that. We've done very light surveys and like data gathering missions from the community and like our students to see if there'd be interest in that. And so far, everything has been overwhelmingly positive. It's tough to get 100% on any kind of opinion or survey, but we're pretty close to that. So I'm hoping to get some more concrete data.
What
And put that
local
plan in
businesses would utilize that technology?
I think as far as like just using the dyno.
Yeah.
I think as far as the dealerships, I'm not sure how much use for that they'd have aside from being able to do like the stationary testing. There is also the performance standpoint of dynos where that's how you get your horsepower readings and stuff like that. We don't have any major speed shops in town or anything like that. But just from the standpoint of being able to run a vehicle, say a truck comes in and the customer says it only makes noise at 85 miles an hour. Well, you can now run that thing 85 miles an hour in place safely and be able to do that diagnostic testing without having to leave. And so I could see us, that's something that I'm hoping to have that conversation with our advisory council tomorrow is, do you think you'd use this? Do you think that's a good
I don't
idea?
know of anyone out in this area that even utilizes that.
Yeah.
So that was
Partly,
my question of how useful, beneficial it'd be
Yeah.
to the students if none of their local employers used it.
yeah, I'm hoping to get an answer to that tomorrow. In part, I think it's mostly due to cost.